Of it is 100% nice, and I don't want to say in my backyard, but let me give you my backyard. I live in Bayview, just south of Davisville, and it's one of those communities where your house is, you park on a laneway, and you have parking on the street, but you don't have driveways. And there's, in quotes, a piece of art there that might be art in someone's mind, but it sure isn't in my mind. So I think there is a level of independence and a level of risk that one takes in the freedom. And so I was with you all the way. I was really with you, and I thought to myself, boy, this is going to be really hard.
I think it's a really good conversation to talk about.
We're getting into a debate. My job is provocateur. I gave you 15 minutes. You had me. You really did. Until you talked about all sorts of stuff, right? I liked the pebbles. But then I thought, then you wanted to go gorilla on me. Right? So, I like pebbles, I don't like gorillas, I guess. You like gorillas? I'm the provocateur, right? In any event, I could have said snow and salt and all of those things, but honest to God, I don't believe in any of that as a reason to stop great art. But I do think that everyone who wants to vote for your idea has to accept that there is risk in it, because taste is in the eye of the beholder. And to use your own words, you did mention in my eye. Yeah. And that might not be in everyone's eye. So if you want to vote, you have to accept the consequences. And maybe they, on balance, are okay, but a lot of people will say, thank you very much, but not in my backyard.
Great. Thank you very much, presenters and Mr. Levy. We're now going to reposition the chairs, and we'll have a little discussion among ourselves. We're going to have to cut that short so that we can go to the audience and have some dialogue and back and forth, okay? So why don't presenters and Mr. Levy, why don't we come upstairs here on the podium? Yes. We're still friends. Pebbles versus gorillas. Art versus atrocities. Hello. You can't hear me, can you? 7-6. No, we're good. Now you can hear me. Wonderful. Green concrete. Wow. Remember the first time I interviewed Mel Lastman about the blue box. I mean, the incentive then was that our garbage dumps were filling up. So what's the incentive for the city to actually pursue this idea? You know, it was in their interest. Garbage dumps were filling up, and nobody wanted our garbage, and so it made sense to go into recycling. What's the incentive now?
A couple of things, a couple of sort of conflicting trends, right? Number one, I mean, our cities and the GTA's appetite for aggregate, for limestone, for gravel, for sand is voracious. And it's causing real friction in a lot of communities around Toronto. And in terms of our own self-interest, I mean, a lot of these areas on the Moraine, on the Oak Ridges Moraine north of the city, are the source of a lot of the rivers that flow down through Toronto are the source of a lot of green spaces that Torontonians would like to retire to on the weekends, would like to explore in the weekends. So, you know, we're pockmarking the landscape just outside of Toronto.
Out of sight, out of mind,
with these ridiculous holes that are not necessary. Whether there's pretty easily, we can change things to reduce demand, use different kinds of materials.
Any of the other panelists want to
Concrete.
Want to jump in on the idea? Did it resonate with you?
How much would it cost? I don't know. I was following him. I'm sitting beside him, you know.
What, you build a lot of buildings, do you? With a lot of concrete buildings?
Yeah, a couple.
Worry about the cost of concrete over at Ryerson? Not that much more. We've done some costing, and I mean, the first thing that would happen is that we'd change this ridiculous situation where, I mean, I live, does anyone like me live near the Leslie Street Spit?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, Leslie Street Spit is like a monument to careless use of concrete, right? I mean, I'm sure the birds down there enjoy the endless amounts of concrete being put into the lake.
Put to good use.
That's true.
Yeah.
We do have a spit now. That's true. It's good size. I think we keep it there. But I mean, just mountains of unused concrete. In other countries, they'd take that concrete, they'd grind it up, they'd use it again. I mean, so for starters in Ontario, we should, just like we do tin cans and paper and newspapers, we should recycle more, reduce demand.
Okay, what exactly do you want us to do? Well, really, with your pebbles and such, and the gorillas?
I feel like the Pebble Mosaic is simply a symbol of working with the community and having people be artistic collaborators. I think it has to be guided by a person who can oversee and direct the art. But I really love that idea of community engagement. And I think it also fosters a feeling of care and brings people together in a creative way and also can facilitate dialogue. So it's not the Pebble Mosaic itself. I think it's what it symbolizes. And I think you bring up a really good idea, Sheldon, in terms of how can we talk about the projects that do fail? Because art is in the eye of the beholder. Ugly is subjective. So I'm curious about that because I live in one of the most beautiful, I would say the most beautiful neighborhood in the world, and that is Kensington Market. Mm-hmm. That's in Olivia's writing. And it is so gorgeous, and it is a strange hodgepodge of different regulations, different zoning laws. It's a hybrid of stuff. People are making, most of the beautiful art I see is because of private citizens have put them up, you know, put stuff up, or they have a store and they make stuff, and it's so vibrant and beautiful. And so then I'm walking around and I'm like, okay, what the hell's this? And this is this thing at College and Augusta. And I was like, what is that eyesore? It's so ugly. Why? And it's like basic, this is a sort of aluminum umbrella thing. It's uncomfortable furniture. You sit down and you get round dots on your bum because there's all these perforated things at the bottom. It's immediately spray painted. People have spray painted over it. No one ever sits there. It's beside a very large sculpture of a bicycle chain, which I guess is supposed to reflect the Kensington bike community. So, but I just found, I mean, it's, maybe you'd like it. Maybe you should go over there. But I was like thinking, why? Why does that have to be here in such a beautiful neighborhood? And so I started to ask questions, and I felt even worse. I thought, oh man, what's going to happen? I found out that it was actually put up by the Kensington Action Committee, which is a wonderful group. They've done some amazing stuff, like as far as lantern festivals and stuff like that. It's turned into the BIA, so now it's the business group. And I just don't know how much they're consulted. I just don't know how these ideas get facilitated. Because you could have, it's a good idea. You know, I didn't know even how to bring it up. And I was talking to the woman in Portland, and she was saying, yeah, how do we talk about the failures? We have to find a way as a group to discuss some of the failures and try to improve on, you know, what we're going to be making. So, and I said, okay, I'll bring it up here, you know. And so, what can we do?
We'll see what reaction we get out here.
Yeah.
Olivia Chow and your idea for half-price transit fares. Any reaction among the panelists to that?
Before they respond, I just want to point one of these days, go over to the Ward Island. There's a beautiful Pebble Mosaic there. It's just been finished.
Yeah.
And it's in the middle. It's huge. It's done by the local folks with kids and lots of neighborhoods. In the middle is a tree of life, and it's surrounded with water symbols. It's absolutely beautiful.
It has already started.
Well,
Vancouver is in Toronto.
It's in Toronto.
Half price transit.
Transit pass.
But it's
Any reaction?
interesting because that particular one was raised, the money was raised by the community who made it, and they raised it through PayPal. They raised $27,000 to make it, and they made it together. So it's like new models, new systems.
Rob Ford will be happy. It didn't cost the city a penny.
It did cost the city a penny.
Half price.
It's a good idea, right? Yeah, it's a good idea. There you go. Long overdue. It's done all around the world.
Actually, my overwhelming thought listening to you was, I mean,
Why don't we have
what
it?
the hell? Like, why is it happening?
Why is it happening?
What is the history of it? What is the history of it? Why has it not? If it's common in other Canadian cities, in addition to European cities, why are we not there?
Many countries, there was a lack of ability. It has always been, the idea came forward quite a few years ago, but TTC has always been in a financial bind. So if you look at Toronto Public Transit Commission, their income, 80% of the income comes from the riders, the fare box, right? So they are as efficient, as effective as you ever can be. So they have no cash left. So where would the money come from, that $30 million that I costed out? Now, assuming they would all want to take public transit, not all of them want to buy in on this, but so maximum it would be 30. So where would it come from? It could come from property tax, but I think that's a problem because already people are paying too, the property tax is high enough, right? Which is why I think it should really come back to a federal program. I look at other countries. I look at United States, for example. I look at Germany. I look at other places, and you will find that there's a federal program that encourage that the transit authority can then buy into, and it's an incentive program. It's not mandated, but hey, your local residents are going to want it. Then your local transit authority would buy in. So some of it is cost share between the transit authorities and the federal government. So I think it certainly can be done.
Okay, Mr. Levy, it's something that you wanted to say that you didn't get.
Just ask Olivia, and I say this quite sincerely. I just don't know how it works. Does someone walk around with a badge or a card and say, "Let me on the bus, I'm unemployed"?
No. They would have to buy their public Metro Pass. Everybody have to go buy a Metro Pass, right? If they have a coupon or a certificate, whatever, that had been issued, when you get laid off, you get a record of employment, you're laid off, right? If you get an EI, you have identification, that you're going to get getting EI.
But my question...
So they buy a pass. They have to pay their $65 on top of that coupon, because right now a Metro Pass, $129? So you get half the price. So they won't identify and say, I'm unemployed, they don't have to wear a badge. They get the Metro Pass just like everybody else. It's just they get a discount. So there are different ways of implementing it. It's up to the local transit authorities. I don't want to tell TTC how it can be done, but it should be done as simplest way as possible, so there's very little administrative costs. In this case, there wouldn't be any administrative costs for the Public Transit Authority and TTC. They would just take the coupons and say to the federal government, hey, this is the number of unemployed people that we've served, and this is the dollar you need to provide for us. And after all, when they start working, they pay income tax, they pay GST, they pay HST. My God, we recoup this money from them anyway.
Okay. We invite the public here, you can please stand to the microphone and
Thank you for
ask
your
a
time.
question
It's
or
much
give your input.
appreciated. I'm sure I'm not alone in that sentiment. And I have an idea that combines Olivia's idea with some other elements that were spoken today. How about half-price Bixie for artists and the unemployed?
What was
About
that?
what? I didn't hear.
Half price
Bixie bike program.
Bixie program. Oh, rather than $100, it should be 50.
Half price what?
Bixie bike, Bixie program. It's a bike program, a bike rental program. That I think it's $100, right? $99, something of that nature. I purchased one, even though I have a bike, and you can go and pick up these bikes that are in all different, mostly in downtown, and you can ride from one place to another. If you remember.
That's fantastic.
If you love half-price transit, you'll love half-price Bixie bike. That's for sure. Good. Next one.
Rick, I like your green concrete idea, but Dr. Levy did raise interesting cost issues. One question is, how much more does a ton of recycled concrete cost over a virgin ton, if you will, all costs in, number one. And number two, given the amount of concrete that's in use now in the City of Toronto and all these projects, how much recyclable concrete is available relative to the amount of concrete needed? That is, how much of an impact would the recycling make in the concrete market?
The facts.
Once again, I will reference my East End home, and for some reason, as some of you may know, our neighborhood is home to many of the concrete companies in the city. So I watch on a daily basis all the recycled material coming in and getting crushed up, and trucks moving around. So I feel like I'm sort of a bystander to the concrete industry these days. There is a lot of recycled material available. Certainly, we could dramatically increase very quickly the 7% level. A big part of that problem is the building code and the specifications of different. Well over half of all concrete is bought by Crown agencies, public agencies, so MTO and municipalities and conservation authorities and whatever. And a lot of those procurement systems have a preference for virgin concrete, virgin limestone. So right off the bat, we could change some of those things and increase recycled content. And again, a big part of this is Toronto's appetite for concrete. So Toronto already has this green standard. It's doing really cool things with green roofs and solar panels and better insulation and better windows and you name it. We can just tack some new specifications for concrete onto that, and it'll have a very significant impact.
So you're not going to change the appetite for concrete. What you want are rules that govern the percentage of virgin concrete, just like we did for paper.
I love concrete.
Yeah.
I want to pave paradise.
Just
as long as the
green.
pavement comes from the right place.
Yeah.
You know.
I thought it was interesting what Sheldon brought up in terms of the root of it too, like with all the buildings and high-rises that only a certain amount of people can afford because they're pretty darn expensive. Like, where does that leave families and children? And like, that's a curious conundrum, because we'll be hightailing it out to the boonies.
Okay, we're gonna go to the next person. I mean, all we gotta do is think paper. We heard the same arguments when we talked about the recycled content in paper when we started out for newsprint. The same arguments about cost, and we seem to manage that very well. Next person, please.
Hello. Just to follow up with the point that I think Sook-Yin was talking about with regards to fundraising, I guess, for some of these projects. You mentioned the whole point about PayPal for that one project that's going on. So I thought about it some more, and I was thinking, well, we definitely need, I think, a new platform to do that sort of stuff, to do the fundraising for these sorts of ideas. In the United States, there's this website called Kickstarter. I don't know if anyone here has heard of that. I think it's a really great platform, and I would love to bring that platform to Toronto and actually make an entire platform out of that, a website where people can do crowdsource fundraising online and be able to fund projects like that and other really great artistic or city building projects that I think would be fantastic for the city of Toronto.
Great, thank you. Next person, please. Trying to get through all of you before we have to close.
My name is Chris, and I'm a proud graduate of Ryerson University. And tonight was probably the first time I've heard Sheldon say something I actually disagree with. So this was certainly
I am
new.
the provocateur.
You are the provocateur, I know, and I was tweeting that. So my two questions.
Did you make sure you told them that I don't believe what I was talking about?
That's right, I will. Don't worry. My two quick questions are: I agree that certainly the building boom, the condo boom in Toronto is an issue when it comes to green buildings. But I'm originally from Brampton, Ontario, and there's a lot of concrete that's used to build very wide roads in places like Brampton. So should the strategy not also include the suburbs, and maybe it could be related to places to grow? And my second quick question is, how can citizens like us in this room get involved? Because obviously the aggregate industry is extremely well funded and very strong. So what can we do, and can we get the whole region involved?
Quick, 10 seconds.
Yes, you can. You can do all of that at environmentaldefense.ca with a C.
Repeat that again.
The Americans.
Repeat
if you
that
go to
again,
environmentaldefense with an S.ca, you go to the American site. It's really screwed up.
So repeat that site again, please.
Environmental defense with a C.ca. Because we're Canadians with a C.
I guess this is just to build on the last question as well. Would this be something that can be addressed to the province as well, to bring in better laws for remediation or?
Yeah, in two ways, right? The biggest buyer of aggregate in the province is the province. So if you put MTO together with Infrastructure Ontario, they buy an enormous amount of aggregate. So my hope is that much as some of you may be familiar with the FSC label in the forest sector, which has really transformed forestry for the better. And so if you want to buy paper or lumber at Home Depot or whatever, a lot of it's FSC certified now, which means it adheres to a better green standard. If we could get Crown agencies like the province, Toronto, preferring green certified concrete, that would make a huge difference.
Another way you can get to it is through the building code. Toronto has a building code, but it's really Ontario building code. And if you change the building code in a way to say that you need to use materials that's sustainable, for example, then in fact, Ontario and other provinces said, well, it's the federal government that set the standards. So it can also be a federal, which is a combination. Yeah. But it can be also done through the building code.
Great. Sir?
Hello, my name is Michael, and I just wanted to say that I'm really glad to be a part of this tonight because I've been living in South Korea for the last 3 years and a bit. And I went there to teach English, and I've been a journalist there focusing on Seoul design specifically. So coming back to Toronto, it's amazing to hear what Sook-Yin Lee and Olivia Chow were talking about in terms of art in the city and also transit. Because what I found really interesting about living in Seoul that I think Toronto can learn from is the fact that people really take aesthetic things into their city, and they're really enriched by it. And you see it in the way that families interact with art in the city. There's a huge push to kind of beautify the city, and I think it's a really important tool also for tourism. It's an important way for the residents of the city to feel, like they're a part of it, and that they're really happy to be surrounded by beautiful things. Also with transit, I brought the T-Money card, which is the card that they use in Seoul, and it's the one thing that the majority of my peers who have gone on that wave of moving to teach English always talk about, because this card, you just charge it on on a machine, and you put as much money as you need. And I don't know how it would translate in Toronto, but you put as much money as you need for the month, and basically you just swipe it, and you go in, and it's probably about $1.50 for the whole entire round trip. So that's something that I thought, coming back to Toronto and seeing how underdeveloped our transit system is something that can be really interesting to think about, and also what you were both talking about in terms of the way that other countries in the world are doing things. It's really encouraging for me to hear that there's so much energy in Toronto to kind of look to the way that other countries are developing and kind of catapult us in a direction that's a little bit more progressive, a little bit more creative, and a little bit more practical, I guess, for today's world. I don't know. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you. And thanks to all of you for showing up tonight and for being so attentive. We've heard about art in the city. We've heard about concrete in the city. Let's have less of that. And half-price transit. I mean, wonderful. Who could be opposed to that? Mr. Levy put his hand up.
I would like, if I could, as a provocateur, to unprovoke for a moment and say the following. It's the common theme of our panelists is wanting to make Toronto a better place. And obviously people in the audience share that goal. And so I want to applaud you three for ideas. Not only are they ideas we're thinking of, but my worry about Toronto is too often we just want good as good enough, and colleagues here want great as what we should aspire for our great city. So ideas were great, but what was greater was that you had ideas. So thank you.
Please join me, as you just did, again in thanking Olivia, Sook-Yin, Rick, Sheldon, and Royson, and all of you for sparking such great conversation tonight. Thank you to Tina Srabotniak, Edward Carrick, and Ab Velasco of the Toronto Public Library for being our co-presenters this evening. As we know, Torontonians love their libraries. And the TPL, yes. TPL does a fantastic job of being a convener of free public conversation. Free public conversation cannot take place without our sponsors, so it's my pleasure to thank them. For DD, obviously the Metcalf Foundation, who made this series possible. Also Maytree, Canadian Heritage, the Ontario Arts Council, the Toronto Arts Council, the Ontario Trillium Foundation, TD Bank, and RBC. And to the LRC funders, Canada Council, OAC again, the Ontario Media Development Corp, Heritage Canada, and all our individual funders. Upcoming events for the LRC, February 6th at the Gardner Museum for a Big Ideas presentation with TVO, with political strategist John Duffy. And come back to this library in April for Friday nights with Diaspora Dialogues downstairs. There are more than 40 events happening between DD and LRC this year. So if you liked tonight and you wanted to come to our other events, just join our mailing list and you will get our mailings. So thank you so much and good evening.